Cars are boring, primitive even. It's 2018 and most vehicles today are still using an internal combustion engine. In other words, in order to propel our cars, we are still burning fuel to produce heat energy and turning it into mechanical energy. This involves many parts, such as pistons, valves, and crankshafts, that must move violently and are bound to break down. The internal combustion engine is so sadly primitive. The basic engine dates back to 1794. But what about Tesla? Tesla is innovating, bringing electric vehicles to society. Well, I have news for you. Tesla is boring too. No matter the innovation, whether that's self-driving cars, all electric, cars themselves are a primitive mode of transportation that modern society has outgrown. Millions of vehicles around the world are all sharing the same streets, the same highways, the same bridges. And these streets and highways are getting increasingly crowded. According to the United Nations, the world's urban population has grown rapidly from 746 million in 1950 to 3.9 billion in 2014. And by 2045, the world's urban population, not total, urban population is expected to surpass 6 billion people. We need a change because we are stuck on a two-dimensional plane. In the future, everyday travel will need to go three-dimensional by way of flying cars, namely air taxis and personal air transportation vehicles. We have been waiting for flying cars to become a reality for over 100 years. The first attempt to build a flying car resulted in the Curtiss autoplane, invented by Glenn Curtiss in 1917. The autoplane had a 100 horsepower engine that drove the propeller. It had removable wings and a fully enclosed aluminum body. The autoplane was able to get off the ground and do a few short hops, but development stopped when the United States entered World War I. And then Ford experimented with the Ford Flivver in the late 1920s. The Flivver was an airplane, not a flying car, but in the spirit of the Model T, the Flivver was designed to be mass-produced as an everyman's aircraft, but production was halted after a fatal crash. Despite the Flivver's failure, Henry Ford remained convinced that flying cars will be a reality someday. Yet here we are in 2018, stuck in traffic, stuck at traffic lights, waiting for our turn to continue on our two-dimensional path. But it looks like Ford's prediction of flying cars will finally come true in the near future. Many companies, from giant aircraft manufacturers to small startup companies, are working on radical ways to take urban transportation into the third dimension. Uber is boldly working towards piloting an air taxi service in LA and Dallas by 2020. Uber's taxi service will use vertical takeoff and landing, or VTOLs, which are aircraft that takes off and lands like a helicopter but flies horizontally like an airplane. Uber plans to repurpose tops of parking garages, existing helipads, and even unused land surrounding highway interchanges to create an extensive network of vertiports or skyports, which are hubs where the VTOLs will travel between. Uber believes that over time, as their taxi service expands, the production of VTOL vehicles will grow and drive the prices for the aircrafts down, and ultimately, using a VTOL transportation service will be less expensive than owning a car. One of Uber's partners will be Bell Helicopters, based out of Texas. Bell displayed their cabin of their air taxi at the 2018 Consumer Electronics Show, but they didn't display the flying mechanism, which Bell is keeping secret. The cabin will have leather seats with futuristic blue lights along with touchscreen tablets and will be able to carry 4 people. The air taxi will be operated by a pilot until autonomous technology is perfected. Although Uber wants to start testing the air taxi service by 2020, it will probably be a little later according to Bell, which hopes to start testing in the early 2020s. Next is Airbus, who created an all-electric powered VTOL called Vahana. The Vahana project started in 2016 and is designed to carry 1 passenger or cargo and aims to be the first certified passenger aircraft without a pilot. The vision with Vahana is that it'll be used by everyday commuters with a comparable cost to commuting with a car or by train. And by taking your commute to the sky, Airbus anticipates your commute time to be cut by 2 to 4 times. Vahana will have a range of 80 kilometers, and aside from being used as a personal air transport vehicle, it can be used as an air taxi, a cargo delivery platform, ambulance, for search and rescue, a mobile hospital, or be used for disaster relief purposes. Airbus wants to eventually build a fleet of these vehicles that will travel from rooftop to rooftop in megacities where traffic is perpetually heavy. And on January 31st, Airbus completed the first test flight of the Vahana. It flew for a brief 53 seconds and reached a height of 5 meters before landing safely. Moving forward, Airbus hopes to have a production-ready version by 2020. On top of the Vahana VTOL, Airbus partnered with Italian engineering company Ital Design to develop a concept that is excitingly more radical. Dipping their designs in a science fiction flavor, they're working on an autonomous modular carbon fiber capsule that will ride on an electric propelled ground module and also be carried by an electric propelled quadcopter air module. The ground module will have 2 motors with a total power of 60 kilowatts and a range of 130 kilometers. The battery capacity will have 15 kilowatt hours. By comparison, a long-range Tesla Model 3 has a 75 kilowatt hour capacity. Anyway, the air module will have 8 motors with the total power of 136 kilowatts. The air module's range without payload will be 100 kilometers with a charge time of 15 minutes and a battery capacity of 70 kilowatt hours. Pop-Up will be an on-demand transportation service network that will offer a seamless travel experience. The way it would work is you would simply request a ride and a module will pick you up and take you to your destination in the most efficient way, whether that's on the ground or by air. Compared to the Vahana, which has been constructed already and had its first test flight, Pop-Up will take a long time to develop, but Airbus is committed to making the Pop-Up a reality. So from aircraft manufacturing giant Airbus, we now go to California-based startup Joby Aviation. Joby recently raised $100 million from big-time investors such as Intel, Toyota, and JetBlue. That $100 million will be used to develop a functioning air taxi prototype. In order to move this along, Joby will hire 100 additional engineers to add to the current team of 120 employees. Joby is secretive at the moment about the prototype, but Bloomberg reported that they were allowed to see a test flight, which consisted of a 15-minute, 15-mile loop. They weren't allowed to describe the vehicle in detail, only that the vehicle was powered by electric motors, had sophisticated control software, made as much noise as a swarm of bees, and performed like a cross between a drone and a small plane. So not only do air taxis seem to be an inevitable advancement, there is a race to get us there. And these are just 3 concepts in the works out of dozens around the world. There are so many companies working on VTOLs or flying cars that I haven't covered, including Boeing, PAL-V out of the Netherlands, Lilium out of Germany, Evolo out of Germany, EVA out of France, and there are dozens more. Until these companies develop these vehicles, making them safe and affordable, we literally drive on. I'll admit that I'm excited to witness the transition to driverless cars in the coming decades. I am also excited to see Tesla put electric vehicles in the auto industry's conscience, because continuing to use internal combustion engines is truly sad. But ultimately, 3-dimensional urban transportation is the future. And that leaves 2-dimensional cars by extension, well, boring. Alright, that's all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed your journey. If you did, please leave a like. And if you want to know how cool life will be like in the future, join the NeoScribe tribe and subscribe. I am NeoScribe, and see you on our next journey.